Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. A couple days ago I reacted to the 2.7 livestream and I thought it was a pretty good livestream. Obviously in a vacuum it seemed like it was, but with a few comments and a few people in my Discord notifying me of a lot of the community's feelings, I became aware of something that I didn't actually notice at first. And that's the fact that we have no combat events outside of our usual endgames in 2.7. The entirety of 2.7, there is not a single combat event. So I just wanted to lay out what went wrong, why the community is feeling this way, what is my opinion on it. Just a little rundown, because I do to some extent feel that this is slightly blown out of proportion, but yes, let's get into it. So of course, 2.7 livestream happened. We got a run through of all the events. Now, to be honest with you, looking back, I know this is like hindsight is 2020, but it did feel like the event section was a bit empty. I mean, the permanent event, I forgot what it was called now. It looks pretty good, but it's not a combat event, is it? It's not letting you test out your new characters at all. So a few days pass and I come across a few people that were unhappy with it, and then I dig deeper into this rabbit hole and I actually found out that a lot of the community is actually up in arms about it. Now I'm pretty sure it has died down, but the reason why I'm making this video is because I wanted to wait for the asteroid count, which I will reveal after today's sponsor. Do you want to get a shiny new S6 5-star but don't want to spend as much as Genizad? Well, look no further, as LD Shop has you covered. LD Shop is a tool that you can use to get your top-ups, battle passes and monthlies for less. For example, Wuthering Waves, my favourite game. You can get a guaranteed 5-star bundles and top-ups for a discounted price, meaning that you get more bang for your buck. To top up your Lunites, first off select your items and then click top up to proceed. Apply your coupons and select a payment method. Once you've paid, submit your account details. It is important that you do not log into the game during this process, as the LD Shop team will handle the top up for you. Once the top up is complete, you will receive a notification. Make sure to check everything's there by logging in afterwards and enjoy your new Lunites. And when the product is delivered, they will log out and wipe all login records. And if you're still unsure, just change your password afterwards for that extra peace of mind. And if you're an avid spender, for future purchases you can always bind your Kuro Games account to your LD Shop account for more convenient top-ups. And just for you guys, newly registered users using my link in the description can receive a massive 15% off coupon with no minimum spend. And it wouldn't be personal if I didn't chuck in a cheeky 5% off bonus when you use my link as well. This means that you can save up to $50 on your Wuthering Waves top-ups. $50! For all my aspiring whales out there, if you spend $80 or more in a month, you can claim a free Lunite subscription. How generous. Just be sure to claim it on the home page if you're eligible. Once again, if you are looking for a secure and reliable way to top up using your Wuthering Waves account for less, use my link in the description and use LD Shop. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Now, if you look on the screen right here, you can see the asteroid count. Now, for one of Wuthering Waves' biggest patches, in recent history, I'm going to have to admit it, the asteroid count is extremely low. It is incredibly low. Only just under 15,000, and you're releasing 2 characters, which means you get the 2 weapons as well. It begs the question, why? Of course it is a rough estimation, but these rough estimations usually are correct. Like for example, 2.1 for example had I believe more than 2.7. 2.1, a quote-unquote filler patch by the way, had more than 2.7. In no way am I saying that this is the end of the world and now I'm going to start hating on wuwa for it, but I have to admit that this is low, especially when you're releasing 2 characters. You cannot fall into the trap that Genshin is in, or fall into the trap that Star Rail is in, basically incentivizing pulling in Star Rail, but not giving enough, and then just not giving enough in Genshin, just on a baseline. Because if you look at the amount of asteroid you get, plus the, the radiant ties that you get, it's only 110. Now that is not enough to guarantee you a character and a weapon if you win the 50-50, which is not good at all. For one of the biggest patches in Wuthering Waves history, this is not good. Now it begs the question, why is it so low? And I have to draw your attention to the issue that I mentioned in the beginning of the video, and that is that there's no combat events, or rather, no events at all. Of course we have a few, However, we do get a new area, and I believe that we are not getting any sort of exploration events, which we usually do, right? I'm very sure we're actually not getting any exploration events, at least in the live stream it didn't say so. Of course, we are yet to get the official post about it. So that really makes me think, you know, surely they would have seen the amount of asteroids they're giving out in this patch, especially when they're bringing out two really good-looking characters, by the way. Galbrain and Chu Yuan look absolutely amazing. It does leave a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. Now, to sort of bring it all back together again, my opinion is that how good a patch is isn't determined on its combat, right? In 2.3, correct me if I'm wrong, we had barely any combat events. Or none at all. I actually cannot remember, but it didn't feel like we had a lot in that. And we didn't see much of a fuss as we do now. But do I genuinely think that combat events are needed in this game? Not exactly. Because even though the game is very combat oriented, I love the combat, by the way, the combat does not make or break this game. There is still a lot outside the game. It's not like all of a sudden, just because combat is not there, the patch is quote-unquote bad. You can't just label a patch good or bad depending on one aspect of the game. Of course, you know, this patch does seem to be lackluster, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, you know, chill out for wuwa this time especially and say, oh, just because there's no combat events, the patch is going to be peak. The story, I'm sure, can be good. The map can be good as well. But without the combat events, there is a void. And it is denting the asteroid count as well, which will affect more people that don't care about combat as well, because obviously, you know, people might want to pull both units. They might want to save for Chisa after spending all of their funds on Uno. You know, there's a lot of people in a lot of situations that might actually be affected by this. But of course, since I am critiquing the game, I have to give my opinions on how to fix this, or at least make sure it doesn't happen again in another patch. The easy fixes are just recycle an old combat event, like we've had so many in the past, and just slap a few new bosses on it. I mean, Star Rail does that. They recycle old events all the time at this point, and they just add different characters in it and stuff. It is sometimes just that easy. That is the very cheap and sort of scummy option, because the quality does go down when you just recycle events over and over and over again. You could always make a new twist to these events, which kind of does soften the blow of, you know, repetition. Another way to fix this would be to give us Depths of the Elusive Realm back. Yes, have you guys forgotten about it? I haven't. Because I'm an OG player, I fell in love with that mode, and I genuinely feel that that mode had so much potential. I'm going to take a page out of Star Rail's book with their Divergent universe and just say wuwa should just have collection rewards, well, one-time collection rewards for like all the, you know, the collectibles in it. Just expand on it more. Just expand on Depths of the Elusive Realm, and if they added that as a permanent mode in this update and had a weekly reset on it like Star Rail, nobody would be complaining. Nobody. Option number 3 is to introduce a third endgame mode. Now, I know we already have a bit of an issue with wuwa. Tower of Adversity, not so much, but it does need an update, Tower of Adversity. Obviously, we did just get some with the 2 new floors, but we need an actual update, really. I'm fine with it personally, but I do agree that it is a bit outdated now. But yes, if you have 3 endgame modes, it usually means that you just get more astrite, especially if you have a lot of teams as well. It does kind of satisfy that thing. I know Star Rail has just implemented a sort of like mode where you have to complete all 3 and then you unlock a bonus mode. However, wuwa could just do that with the 2, but then actually have astrite in it, because I know Star Rail doesn't give jades out for that mode for some ungodly reason. Now, those are 3 combat-oriented fixes to this patch, or future patches. However, a general fix would just be to add the exploration events that we've literally gotten for every single area up to now. I genuinely do not understand why those aren't there, especially when we're getting like a big area, by the way. It looks pretty big. Of course, they could have missed them from the live stream. That's always possible, so, you know, my video could be half invalid by the time 2.7 actually comes out. But the fact of the matter is, there is still not that much combat in this update. It is very story focused. Now, my personal opinion on that, I don't mind, because at the end of the day, I play Wuthering Waves for the game as a whole. I don't play just for the combat. But of course, I can understand why people are angry about this, and I can sympathize with that as well, because I do agree that the combat is really good. So when you have to go a whole 6 weeks without doing anything quote-unquote unique in the combat area, it does get a bit stale. However, we did have this sort of problem going towards 2.0 originally. 1.3 and 1.4 started to have a bit of a sort of, not a decline I'd say, but they felt a bit more empty just because they were starting to focus on, you know, the big one. In this case, it'd be 3.0. So yes, thank you for coming to my somewhat rambling, ranty video. Do you guys agree with what I've said? I think ultimately 2.7 is not the worst patch. It has to go to like 2.3 or something like that for what it was anyways. Personally, it doesn't affect me, but at the end of the day, I know that it's not just me that plays this game. I know there's a lot of people that are actually pissed off about this. But yes, thank you all so much for coming, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye for now.